Hi, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday per Mrs. Sternat's art room. This is Amy, and today we are going to be doing a sunrise for Easter Sunday. It's Holy Week this week, and since we probably won't be experiencing sunrise service on Sunday morning, and at least not in the sense of being able to spend it with my church family. My immediate family, we could all be up before the sun comes up and do that on our own in our own little home church, but it's kind of what's the inspiration for this right now. I did this on a little scrap piece of watercolor paper just because I wanted to make sure I could do it and have it turn out worth a squat, because I'm not very good at watercolor. I'm really not. My youngest child would probably argue that otherwise, because she just kind of looks at me with an open jaw sometimes. But she's 10, and at one point in time she idolized SpongeBob, so take it for what it's worth. In her eyes, I'm probably pretty brilliant, so I can live with that. What we're gonna need: watercolor paper. I am using a Canson brand watercolor paper. It's 140 pound weight, and I like that particular weight because it holds water really well without disintegrating like toilet paper. And but whatever you have, if you have mixed media paper, that's good, because it'll still do its thing, but you just have to be careful that the water doesn't buckle and create valleys because you've got too much water on your paper. So what we're going to need is, I've got some tape. I've already taped mine down. You need some water, clean water. I am using an old cat dish that my cat refused to eat out of because you've got to have clean water and a section of another thing of water to clean your brushes out. So I use a cat bowl because it works, and I had it on hand, and so I'm gonna go with it. And then your watercolor. I've got a Koi brand watercolor travel kit that I have. This kit came with a little watercolor brush pen where you could fill up the one part with water, and you just squeeze it to add more water to your brush. And it's the darndest little thing, and I love it so much because I can pretty much just pack this up and take it anywhere I go. Brushes. I've probably got a number 10. The woods, the sizes run off on that one. For the most part, I'll be using a size 8 round, and then I have a little teeny tiny little one for the detailing that we'll do for our crosses over here. So let's get started. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to get my paper wet. I'm going to take my bigger brush here, it's loaded with water. Make sure it doesn't have anything on there. And this is going to be kind of a wet on wet surface because the color will bleed into the paper because it'll travel where the water's at, and all it does when you're doing wet on wet is it makes really soft edges, and I'm only gonna go about there for right now because I don't want to oversaturate my paper and have it buckle too bad. 140-pound weight paper will still buckle, unless you get the really expensive stuff that's more than 140-pound weight. Okay, so I'm going to take my number 8 and I'm going to grab some blue. And I'm going to have that, I'm going to be using a lot of blue, so I'm going to grab some water and just get a pile of blue going in my palette. I don't rinse out my palette all that well or all that much because what's dry here is still usable. I can still use that color long after it's dry. Okay, so we're gonna start at the top and we're gonna put a nice smear of blue in there. Where I struggle with watercolor is giving up a sense of control, because watercolor, you know, I tell my kids all the time, especially my little ones when they're scribbling, you know, color in your white spaces, color in your white spaces. And with watercolor, your white spaces are kind of vital, because that's your highlight. I'm gonna drag some more water along in there. Whether this is the proper technique or not, I have no idea, because like I said, I am kind of self-taught when it comes to watercolor, and I'm nowhere near the skill level that I would really like to be at. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. Actually, I'm gonna smooth out that edge. See how that just kind of evaporated? And now I'm gonna pick up some purple. I didn't rinse out my brush or anything. I'm going to take some of that blue that's dried onto my palette, and I'm going to take some purple and I'm going to come in with that with nice swoopy lines. If I want more water, I just grab more water out of my clean side. If I want more color, I grab more color. And I just tickle it in there wherever I want it. Places that are heavy with water, your brush can actually pick up water if your brush is dry or not as wet. And you can grab water to soften out edges if you want to. But we're just going to tickle in some purple. I think this would be called color blocking. You just kind of putting color where you want. If you think of a Kansas sunrise, or sunset for that matter, the skies have an incredible amount of that sky blue purple. A friend of mine would call the pink color you see in a sunrise sky blue pink, and that's always just kind of stuck with me. which I'm going to take some pink now and I'm going to put it in the same vicinity I did with my purple on my palette. I'm going to dilute that quite a bit because I don't want such an intense color. Not yet anyway. When you're talking about the vibrancy of a color when you're in watercolor, it depends on how much water you're using. Like if you want a very intense color, you use less water. If you want a very light color, you use more water. And I'm bringing that pink down into this area more. Because the closer we get to the horizon, our colors start to shift from blues and purples to more pinks and oranges and yellows. Get darker where you want to get darker. See what I mean about color? I have more color in my palette than I do water, so therefore that's going to be a little bit more vibrant. And what I'm learning with watercolor is that you don't want to overwork it. Stop before you think you're done. That way your colors don't get too muddy with each other. And you're getting some layers in there. You're allowing your colors to dry so that you can layer in more color. And now I'm doing more wet on wet with the bottom half. Because now I want to get into my yellows and oranges. And I've got my pink in the middle of my yellows and my oranges because, you know, if I put my yellow with my blue, what's that gonna make? It's gonna make green, because yellow and blue make green. And I don't want a green sky, I want a nice sky blue pink. So I'm gonna take some yellow, and I'm gonna have more water than yellow for right now. This is kind of called a wash. And I've got quite a bit of water on my paper, so that's kind of helping me dilute my yellow color. Now before we get too much further into the next color, I don't know if you can see it, I can probably slide it up, but I've got some white blocked off here with tape because I want to have a section of my paper free so that I could do some scripture on the bottom of my Sunrise watercolor. So I'm leaving that white, but we need to leave some room here for our silhouette and our crosses. So I don't want to get too far down with my yellow because then I'll be covering it up. So we'll just get some more saturated yellow in here. And we'll take some more and we'll get it with the pink. Pink and yellow go pretty good with each other because pink and yellow is going to make a nice orange color. They blend real well. And you're just tickling in some color. Kind of want to be careful of where your blues and your purples are so that doesn't get muddy. And I might be starting to get a little muddy here and there, but it'll dry okay. But I want some yellow with my pink. I say from about here down is where my black's gonna be for my crosses and my silhouette. So now I'm gonna go in and take some orange. And I've got orange on my palette already. I'm still gonna use it. No sense in wiping it off when you can use it. And I'm gonna just swoop some orange in there where the pink and the yellow didn't quite do it. Swoop, swoop, swoop. It's a nice little landscape sunrise. And where things are starting to dry up here, you can tickle in some orange, but not too much, because orange has a lot of yellow in it. So if you get your orange and your blue mixed together too much, guess what happens? You have a green sky. So there's my orange. And I'm gonna stop before I think I'm done. I still want to mess with it, which is a good indication that I should be stopping. But I do want some heavier pink in some places. Maybe the heavier pink is a cloud. Layer upon layer. Now when this top part dries, we can actually put a few touches of yellow in the light spots. Instead of me leaving my white spaces open, I'm going to revert back to what I know and fill in all my white spaces. Tickle a few pink in there. I don't know. Okay. Stop before I think I'm done. Right? And here I am still messing. Okay. Before I tackle that white spot right there, I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to get this wet again, because I want this section up here to be quite a bit darker. I don't want it to look light by any means, because when the horizon's down here, you know, the sun's coming up above the horizon. This part up here is still relatively dark, because it's still the night sky. The sun just hasn't hit it yet. So I'm going to take my blue, and I'm going to take just a tiny bit of black. I'm going to sprinkle that in with my blue. And grab some water. I'm going to grab some purple and put that in there. See what happens. And here we go. You can tickle in that darker color. Maybe those are darker clouds. Got quite a bit of water collecting over here, so we're just gonna match that. And that darker color is gonna, let's do some dots. Maybe these are high clouds. Just tap, tap, tap. I'm gonna soften up that edge, so I'm gonna grab some water and do it that way. Same over here. I'm kind of losing my white space there, but I'm going to take some purple, a little bit of that darker blue, and I'm just going to dot, dot, dot. Let that bleed. See what happens. Bleed. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like when it dries. I haven't got skilled enough eyes yet to really know what things are going to look like before they dry, or what dry things are going to look like before they dry. Clouds can be hard too, because again, you want to have some sort of sense of control, and there is nothing controlled about how clouds form other than the science. I lost my paper towel, but I don't want that sharp edge right there. Oh, there it is. So I cleaned off my brush a bit and wiped it off on my pants. And you don't have to follow me completely, because this is, if you're following along and you want to do something different, or if you want to skip the process, go ahead. It's your painting. Go for it. Hayden said I'm right at 20 minutes, which you probably heard her, because she's hovering above the camera to make sure that I stay on, because we had a little bit of technical difficulty, because I had actually done another one before this, but guess what, it only recorded about 4 minutes. that was that one. So we had to start over again. I just took some more purple. I'm kind of hitting some more vibrant spots. I'm going to soften up that edge though with some water. And I think instead of yellow, I'm going to go with purple here. Just because I've got a considerable amount of blue and I don't want green up that high. Green in the clouds usually means hail, and I don't want it to be hailing on my Easter Sunday. Not that I wouldn't mind, because I'm itching for a good thunderstorm. But it's just not happening as quickly as I want it to. Soften the edges up. Let that bleed in there. I'm going to take some pink. Draw up in there. Make that a little darker. Smooth out my edges. And let's see where we're at. Are we about there? Yeah? Okay, so I'm gonna stop. That looks pretty good. I say stop and then I keep going. Hayden's telling me to stop. Okay, I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna get my black and my black's gonna be super saturated to the point I'm not mixing my black with anything, just the water, and I'm gonna try to pick up as much paint with my brush and my water as I can. And I'm just gonna drag my brush along here. Maybe come up to the hill. Make a little hill. And then I'm gonna scrub out my brush paint so that I'm not wasting it. And then I'm gonna go back in, I'm gonna get more. The bottom half of this paper is pretty much dry, so it's kind of a wet on dry, meaning your paint's wet but your surface is dry. And you're gonna need to let the black dry a minute and then go back over it with another layer so that it becomes an opaque surface, or an opaque look, more than a transparent one. Opaque means that you can't see through it. All these colors up here, you can see through them. And see, that's what I mean by transparent. You can still, it looks gray more than it looks black. And I'm going to try to keep this under 30 minutes, so I'm kind of hurrying a little bit. Thank you, Hayden, for telling me that it's 26 minutes. Okay, now for the best part. The crosses. Our crosses are gonna go 1, 2, 3. And you can put them anywhere on here. I'm putting them up this way. So I'm gonna take my little skinny brush, got water on it. I'm gonna load that with the black, get it real super saturated. And this is pretty well dry. So I'm gonna start in with my first cross. You can start with a thin line and go back over it to make it thicker. It's whatever your preference is. Having a thin line sometimes means that, you know, it takes a little bit of finesse and some practice, and it's okay. I tell Hayden all the time that I've had a lot more practice than she has. She doesn't really like that answer because she wants to be good at it right off the bat, and some kids are. Some kids are just naturally talented like that, which is great. There's my first cross. I don't think I'm naturally talented. I might have some of it. I'm a right brainer. I saw the sneaker. It was pink and white instead of green and gray. I don't know if that means anything. Okay, now I'm gonna have my second cross, which is smaller than my center one. And for my last cross, it'll be over here. I might just do it. Hayden says I'm at about 29 minutes. And there's my third cross. There you have it. There is a nice sunset for Easter Sunday, Easter sunrise service. And I hope you guys have a very blessed week. I know things are getting real in Republic County real fast, and it's a little worrisome, but you know what? God is bigger, guys. I truly believe that, and I know that we're going to be okay, and we'll come out of this even better for it. So happy Easter, and everybody take care.